There's a courtroom in Seoul, South Korea. It's 25. The walls are white. The air is cold. The judge sits behind glass. No jury, no audience. Just a lawyer, a defendant, and a machine. The lawyer opens his briefcase. Inside, a tablet. Nothing else. He uploads 14,000 pages of case law. The machine reads it in 3.2 seconds. It cross-references precedents from 47 countries. It analyzes sentence structures, judicial patterns, tone, bias, probability of appeal success. It drafts a 60-page legal brief while the lawyer takes a sip of water. The machine doesn't charge by the hour. It doesn't sleep. It doesn't forget. It doesn't negotiate. And it just won the case. Now here's the part that keeps people awake at night. That lawyer, he didn't fight the machine. He didn't argue with it. He worked with it. Because the ones who refused, they're not lawyers anymore. Let me tell you something that no one wants to say out loud. The legal profession, one of the oldest, most revered, most protected careers in human history, is being quietly, systematically, unmistakably replaced. Not by revolutionaries, not by protests or policy changes, by code, by algorithms that read faster, write better, and remember everything. And if you think this is just about lawyers, you're not paying attention. This is about every profession that relies on patterns, precedents, language, and logic. Which means this is about you. Here's a number that should make you pause. According to a 2023 study by Goldman Sachs, 44% of legal tasks can now be automated by generative AI. Not might be, not could be someday. Can be, right now. Document review, contract analysis, legal research, discovery, due diligence. These aren't side tasks. These are the core of what junior lawyers do, the foundation of a legal career. And they're vanishing. But here's where it gets eerie. The senior partners, the ones with decades of experience, they know this. They've seen the projections, they've tested the software, and they're not hiring. In 2024, large law firms in the US reduced their intake of first-year associates by 18%. In the UK, that number was 22%. Why pay $120,000 a year for a human to review contracts when an AI can do it in minutes? For the cost of a monthly SaaS subscription. The math is brutal. The logic is flawless. And the humans? They're expensive, emotional, and exhausted. Let's zoom out for a second. Think about the printing press in 1440. Before Gutenberg, scribes spent their entire lives copying books by hand. It was sacred work. It required patience, precision, devotion. Then the machine arrived, and within 50 years, the scribe profession was gone. Not diminished, not transformed. Gone. Now ask yourself this. What's the difference between a scribe copying text by hand and a lawyer copying legal precedents into a memo? One used ink, the other uses Microsoft Word, but both follow patterns, both rely on repetition, both can be replicated, and replication is what machines do best. I want you to imagine something. You're a lawyer, you spent 7 years in school, you passed the bar, you have $200,000 in student debt. You wake up one morning, open your email, and see this subject line. Notice, your role has been restructured. Inside, it says your firm is implementing a new AI legal assistant. It can draft briefs, conduct research, analyze case outcomes, and predict trial success rates. Your billable hours? Cut by 60%. Your salary? Adjusted. Your future? We'll reassess in 6 months. You feel your chest tighten. You think, I did everything right. I followed the rules. I worked hard. So why does it feel like I've been erased? This isn't fiction. This is happening. Right now. In New York, London, Sydney, Mumbai. The profession that once symbolized power Intellect and security is becoming optional. But here's the twist. This story isn't about AI being evil. It's not about robots taking over. It's about something far more unsettling. AI doesn't want your jewel. It doesn't feel pride. It doesn't seek status. It doesn't dream of corner offices or courtroom victories. It just does the work. Faster, cheaper, better. And in a world where efficiency is worshipped, that's all that matters. So let's be clear about what we're really talking about here. We're not talking about whether AI can replace lawyers. It already has. We're talking about what happens next. Do we mourn? Do we adapt? Do we fight back? Or do we realize that the rules of the game have changed, and the only way forward is to learn the new rules before the game is over? Because here's the thing. The legal world isn't ending, it's evolving. And evolution doesn't care about nostalgia. It cares about survival. There's a line I once read in an old philosophy book. The flame that burns twice as bright burns half as long. For 500 years, lawyers have burned bright. They've been gatekeepers of justice, architects of civilization, protectors of rights. But now the fuel is running out. Not because they weren't good enough, Sinai, but because the machine doesn't need fuel. It just needs electricity. So let me ask you this. If your job follows a pattern, if it relies on memory, repetition, logic, and precedent, what makes you think you're safe? What makes you think your profession is different? What makes you think the algorithm won't come for you next? Welcome to part 1. What makes this job safe or doomed? And trust me, the answer might surprise you. Let's talk about patterns, because that's what this is really about. Not intelligence, not creativity, not soul. Patterns. And if there's one thing AI does better than any human who has ever lived, it's recognizing patterns, finding them, copying them, perfecting them, and then replacing the human who made them. Here's how it started. A law firm in New York, let's call them Harrington and Cross, decides to test a new AI tool called Ross Intelligence. Ross is a legal research assistant powered by IBM Watson. It reads natural language. You ask it a question like a human, and it searches through millions of legal documents in seconds. The firm gives it to one junior associate, just to see. Within 3 weeks, that associate is outperforming the entire research department. Cases that used to take 40 hours, done in 90 minutes. Legal memos that require teams of paralegals, drafted overnight. The partners look at each other and think the same thing. Why are we paying 12 people to do what one machine can do for $50 a month? By 2020, the research department is gone. Not downsized, not restructured. Gone. Now, you might think that's an isolated case. You might think, okay, legal research is boring, but real lawyering, courtroom work, negotiation, that's human, that's irreplaceable. And you'd be wrong. Let me show you why. Do Not Pay, an AI-powered app, helps people fight parking tickets, cancel subscriptions, sue robocallers, and file small claims. It's free, it's instant, and it's winning. By 2023, Do Not Pay has helped over 2 million people with legal issues. No lawyers involved, no $400 per hour consultations, no waiting rooms, no retainer fees. No jargon, just you, your phone, and an algorithm that knows the law better than most attorneys. The founder, Joshua Browder, said something chilling in an interview. The legal system was designed to be expensive and confusing. We're making it simple and free, and the industry hates us for it. He's right. Because what Do Not Pay exposed is this. Most legal work isn't complex. It's repetitive, and repetition is the enemy of human relevance. Let's go deeper. Harvey AI launches, a legal assistant specifically designed for corporate law. It doesn't just research, it drafts contracts, merger agreements, NDAs, employment contracts, licensing deals. It analyzes risk, it flags inconsistencies, it suggests clauses based on jurisdictional nuances, and it does this in minutes. Big law firms start subscribing. Allen and Overy, Freshfields, Clifford Chance. They don't advertise it. They don't make press releases. But inside, the associates know. They're being replaced, one task at a time. Here's a quote from a senior partner at a top-tier Manhattan firm. He spoke anonymously to the Wall Street Journal in 2024. "We used to need 15 associates to close a deal. Now we need 4, and honestly, in 2 years we might only need 2. Pause on that. This isn't a prediction. This is a confession. The people running these firms know what's happening. They're not in denial. They're complicit. Because, from their perspective, it's good business. Fewer salaries, fewer benefits, fewer egos, fewer mistakes. Just clean, cold, calculated efficiency. Let's talk numbers. According to a 2024 report by Thomson Reuters, AI-powered legal tools have reduced the time spent on document review by 70%, contract analysis by 65%, legal research by 80%, discovery processes by 60%. Now here's the kicker. Those tasks, they make up roughly 60% of what junior lawyers do. So if 60% of your job can be done by a machine in a fraction of the time, what exactly is your value? What are you being paid for? Your degree, your suit, your ability to survive law school, or your ability to do the work? And if the work is gone, there's a phrase in economics, creative destruction. It means that innovation doesn't just improve things. It destroys the old to make room for the new. The car destroyed the horse carriage industry. The smartphone destroyed the camera, the GPS, the alarm clock, the phone book. And now, AI is destroying the lawyer. Not out of malice, not out of revenge, just out of inevitability. But here's where it gets truly disturbing. Because it's not just junior lawyers who are vulnerable. Let me introduce you to Blue Jay Legal, an AI that predicts judicial outcomes. You feed it the facts of a case. It analyzes prior rulings, judge behavior, jurisdictional trends, and even the language used in past decisions. Then it tells you, you have a 67% chance of winning this motion. This judge rules in favor of the plaintiff 82% of the time in similar cases. Your argument will likely fail unless you emphasize Section 4B. Now, imagine you're a client. You're paying $500 an hour for a lawyer's expert opinion. But then you find out that an AI gave you the same prediction for free in 30 seconds. What do? You stop paying the lawyer. Here's a story that haunts me. A mid-tier law firm in Chicago. 25 employees. They bring in an AI tool called Casetexts Co-Counsel, powered by GPT-4. It can draft pleadings, summarize depositions, prepare timelines, identify key evidence. Within 6 months, the firm's productivity doubles. And within a year, they lay off 40% of their staff, not because those people were bad at their jobs, but because the machine was better. Faster, tireless, flawless. One of the associates, a woman named Sarah, 29 years old, $180,000 in debt, posted on Reddit, "I did everything right, top 10% of my class, passed the bar on the first try, worked 70-hour weeks, and I got replaced by a chatbot." The post got 14,000 upvotes. The comments? Thousands of people saying the same thing. Me too. So here's the pattern. If your job is based on reading documents, finding precedents, writing memos, analyzing data, following procedures. Then your job can be automated, because that's not lawyering, that's pattern recognition. And machines don't just recognize patterns, they become them. Let me say this clearly, AI isn't coming for lawyers because it hates them. It's coming because the system was designed to be replicated. Think about it. Law school teaches you to think like a lawyer, which means think systematically, think in precedents, think in structures. In other words, think like a machine. And the moment you teach humans to think like machines, you make them replaceable by machines. There's a line from a cybersecurity expert I once interviewed. He said, "If your job follows a pattern, AI can replicate it faster, cheaper, and endlessly." That's not a threat, that's a law of nature. So let me ask you something. What happens to the lawyer who refuses to adapt? The one who says, "I don't need AI, I have experience, I have intuition, I have humanity." What happens to them? They become expensive, they become slow, they become obsolete, not because they're bad, but because the world moved on. And here's the part that should terrify you. This isn't just happening to lawyers. It's happening to accountants, radiologists, paralegals, journalists, copywriters, translators, data analysts. Any job that relies on processing information and producing predictable output, it's a next. So the question isn't, will AI replace lawyers? The question is, what happens to those who refuse to adapt? And the answer? They vanish. Quietly, gradually, inevitably. Like scribes after the printing press, like switchboard operators after the telephone, like film projectionists after digital cinema. They don't die, they just stop mattering. Let's rewind for a moment, because if this story ended here, with machines winning and humans losing, it wouldn't just be depressing. It would be incomplete. History doesn't work that way, and neither does humanity. England, the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. Textile workers, weavers, spinners, artisans who had spent their entire lives perfecting their craft, watched as machines began doing their work. Faster, cheaper, in massive quantities. They were terrified, they were angry, and some of them, they fought back. They called themselves the Luddites. They smashed the machines, burned the factories, wrote manifestos about the death of craftsmanship and the end of human dignity. And you know what happened? The machines won anyway. Not because the Luddites were wrong about the pain, but because they were wrong about the ending. Because here's what the history books don't always tell you. Yes, the Industrial Revolution destroyed millions of jobs, but it also created tens of millions more. Jobs that didn't exist before, jobs no one could have imagined. Factory managers, railroad engineers, electricians, machinists, mechanics. The economy didn't collapse, it exploded. Within 100 years, the world went from candlelight to electric grids, from horse carriages to automobiles, from handwritten letters to telegraphs. Entire industries were born. And the humans? They didn't disappear. They evolved. Fast forward to 1995. The internet arrives, and everyone panics. Bookstores will die. Music stores will die. Travel agents will die. And they were right. Borders collapsed. Tower records vanished. Blockbuster became a punchline. But something else happened. Amazon was born. Spotify was born. Airbnb was born. And suddenly, people who never could have opened a bookstore were selling globally from their living rooms. Musicians who never could have signed a record deal were reaching millions on YouTube. Creators who never could have afforded a storefront were building brands on Instagram. The old world died, but a new one exploded into existence. So here's the truth. They don't teach you in law school. Every machine replaces a task, but never a dream, Because tasks are mechanical, dreams are human, and humanity has never been defined by what we do. It's been defined by what we want, what we imagine, what we build, what we dare to create. And that's something no algorithm can take away. Let's talk about creative destruction again, because it's not just an economic theory. It's a psychological one. When something you've relied on is taken away, you face a choice. You can mourn what's gone, or you can create what's next. And the people who survive, the ones who thrive, they're not the ones who resist change. They're the ones who dance with it. Let me tell you about a lawyer named Marcus Webb. Miami. 15 years of experience in corporate law. He watches his firm bring in an AI contract tool. Watches his junior associates get let go. Watches his own workload shrink by half. And he realizes, I can fight this, or I can use it. So he learns the AI, studies it, masters it, and then he does something brilliant. He starts a boutique legal consulting firm that specializes in AI-assisted legal work. He offers clients the same quality as big law firms, but at 40% of the cost. Why? Because he's not paying for 30 associates. He's using AI to do the grunt work. But he still brings the human touch, strategy, negotiation, relationship building, ethical judgment, the things machines can't do. By 20 his firm is worth $8 million, and he's hired back some of those laid-off associates, not as researchers, but as strategists. Here's what Marcus understood. AI doesn't replace you. It replaces your inefficiency. If all you do is repeat what's been done before, you're not a lawyer, you're a search engine. But if you think, if you create, if you connect, you're irreplaceable. Let's zoom out again. Throughout history, every major technological shift has followed the same pattern. Phase 1, panic. We're all going to lose our jobs. Phase 2, collapse. See, I told you, everything's falling apart. Phase 3, reinvention. Wait, there are new opportunities here. Phase 4, explosion. My goodness, this is better than before. We're currently in Phase 2. The panic is real, the collapse is real, but Phase 3, it's already beginning. And Phase 4, it's going to be extraordinary. Let me show you what's emerging. 1. Legal engineers, lawyers who understand both law and AI, who can train algorithms, audit their decisions, ensure ethical compliance. 2. Dispute resolution specialists, humans who mediate conflicts that AI can't, emotional disputes, family law, complex negotiations where empathy matters. 3. Policy architects, people who create the rules for AI, who decide what's legal, what's ethical, what's human. 4. Micro-legal entrepreneurs, solo practitioners who use AI to offer affordable legal services to underserved communities, something big law never cared about. These jobs didn't exist 5 years ago, and in 5 more years? There will be a dozen more we can't even imagine yet. Here's a quote from Reid Hoffman, co-founder of LinkedIn. The people who will thrive in the AI age aren't the ones who know the most. They're the ones who learn the fastest. Read that again. Because it's not about what you know now. It's about how quickly you can adapt. I want you to think about something. When photography was invented, painters panicked. Who will pay for portraits when a camera can do it in seconds? And they were right. The demand for portrait painting collapsed, but painting didn't die. It evolved. It became art, expression, emotion. Painters stopped trying to replicate reality. They started creating new realities. Impressionism, Cubism, Surrealism. And today, a single painting by Picasso is worth more than 1,000 photographs. Not because it's more accurate, but because it's more human. The same thing is happening to law. AI will do the repetitive work, the tedious work, the mechanical work. But the human work, that's just beginning. Because here's what machines will never understand: the grief of a client losing custody of their child, the pride of an immigrant finally getting citizenship, the fear of a small business owner facing a lawsuit, the hope of a wrongfully convicted person fighting for freedom. Those aren't legal problems, they're human problems, and they require human solutions. Let me tell you about Sarah Nguyen. Remember her? The 29-year-old associate who got replaced by a chatbot? She didn't give up. She took 6 months off, learned to code, studied AI ethics, and then she launched a nonprofit, AI Justice Watch, an organization that audits AI legal tools for bias, ensures they don't discriminate, and educates the public on their rights. She turned her pain into purpose, her replacement into reinvention. And now, she's testifying before Congress, speaking at conferences, shaping the future of AI regulation. The machine didn't end her career, it redefined it. Here's the thing about transformation. It's not gentle, it's not easy, it's terrifying. Because transformation requires you to let go of who you were, to admit that the old way is gone, to step into the unknown. But here's the secret: the unknown is where all creation happens. Every great invention, every bold idea, every revolution in human history, it started in the unknown. And the people who entered it first, they became legends. So let's talk about you, because this isn't just a story about lawyers. It's a story about survival, about what happens when the ground shifts beneath you and you have to choose. Do you cling to the past, or do you build the future? Here's what I know. Machines can read, but they can't care. Machines can calculate, but they can't dream. Machines can execute, but they can't imagine. And imagination, that's the most powerful force in the universe. It's what turned caves into cities. It's what turned fire into electricity. It's what turned fear into flight. And it's what will turn this moment of collapse into the greatest expansion of human potential we've ever seen. Because here's the truth. Every machine replaces a task, but never a dream. And your dream? It's not to review contracts for 12 hours a day. It's not to bill clients by the minute. It's not to drown in paperwork. Your dream is to matter, to make a difference, to solve problems, to protect people, to create justice. And that's still yours. No algorithm can take it. No code can replace it. No machine can dream it. The lawyers who will thrive aren't the ones who know the most precedents. They're the ones who create new precedents, who ask questions no one else is asking, who build solutions no one else imagined, who see the world not as it is, but as it could be. So here's my question for you. What if this collapse isn't the end? What if it's the beginning? What if everything you thought you lost was just making room for something better? Let's get uncomfortable. Because we've talked about hope, we've talked about reinvention, we've talked about dancing with change. But here's what we haven't talked about. What happens to those who don't adapt? Not theoretically, actually. What happens to the lawyer who refuses to learn AI, who dismisses it as a fad, who believes that experience and intuition alone will carry them through? I'll tell you exactly what happens. And it's not pretty. Meet David Harrington, 58 years old, partner at a regional law firm in Ohio, 32 years of experience, expert in employment law, built his reputation on being thorough, detail-oriented, and relentless. In 2022, his firm introduces an AI tool called Everlaw, a platform that uses machine learning to review discovery documents, flag relevant evidence, and predict case outcomes. David's response: "I've been doing this for 3 decades. I don't need a computer to tell me how to practice law. He refuses to use it. While his younger colleagues embrace the tool, cutting their document review time by 75%, David continues doing things the old way, by hand, by instinct, by experience. And at first, it works. His cases still settle, his clients are still satisfied, but then something shifts. A major corporate client, one David has worked with for 15 years, brings him a complex employment discrimination case. Timeline: 6 months to trial. Budget: $200,000. David assembles his team, starts the manual review process, 80-hour weeks. Highlighters, post-it notes, coffee-stained depositions. Meanwhile, another firm, a smaller, younger competitor, takes on a similar case for the same client. But they use AI. Everlaw processes 500,000 documents in 72 hours, identifies patterns, flags contradictions, builds a timeline. Their team reviews the AI's findings in 2 weeks. David's team, still buried in paperwork after 2 months. The client pulls the case from David and gives it to the competitor. Why? Not because David was incompetent, but because he was slow. And in a world where speed is survival, slow is fatal. Let's pause here, because this is the part people don't want to admit. Your experience doesn't matter if someone else can do it faster. David had 3 decades of knowledge, but the AI had access to every case in history. David had instinct, but the AI had data. David had dedication, but the AI never slept. And the client? They didn't care about effort, they cared about results. Here's what happened next. By the end of 2023, David's billable hours dropped by 40%. Not because he was losing skills, but because clients were choosing competitors who could deliver faster, cheaper, and just as accurately. In early 2024, the firm's managing partners called a meeting. David, we need to talk about your productivity. We're integrating AI across all departments. You need to get on board. David resisted, argued, defended his methods. And in June 2024, he was forced into early retirement. Not fired. The optics would have been bad, but encouraged to step down with a reduced pension and a polite goodbye at a firm dinner. 32 years. Gone. Not because he wasn't good, but because he refused to evolve. Now, you might think David's story is an outlier. You might think, that's just one guy, that's not the norm. But let me give you the numbers. According to a 2024 report by the American Bar Association, 23% of lawyers over age 50 report feeling obsolete in their firms. 31% have been passed over for cases in favor of younger, tech-savvy colleagues. 18% have been forced into early retirement or consulting roles with reduced responsibilities. This isn't anecdotal. This is systematic. And it's accelerating. Let me tell you about Linda Ortega, 44 years old, solo practitioner, family law. For 15 years, she built her practice the traditional way: referrals, relationships, reputation. She took pride in being hands-on, personal, human. But in 2023, something changed. Clients started asking her about AI tools. I saw this app called Do Not Pay. Can you do what it does? There's a chatbot that drafts custody agreements for free. Why should I pay you $3,000? Linda didn't have good answers. Because the truth was, her services were expensive. And for many clients, they were identical to what free AI tools offered. She started losing clients, not to other lawyers, to algorithms. By late 2024, her revenue had dropped by 60%. She couldn't afford her office lease, couldn't pay her paralegal, couldn't keep up with malpractice insurance. In January 2025, she closed her practice. She now works part-time as a contract attorney for a legal tech company, reviewing AI-generated documents. for $40 an hour. Let's talk about that for a second. Linda didn't fail because she was a bad lawyer. She failed because she didn't adapt. She clung to a business model that was built for a world that no longer existed. And the market? It didn't care about her pride, her history, her hard work. It only cared about value. And when an app could deliver the same result for free, her value disappeared. Here's the brutal truth. In a world of AI, competence is no longer enough. You have to be indispensable. And indispensability comes from one thing: doing what machines can't. If your entire value is in executing tasks, you're replaceable. But if your value is in thinking, creating, connecting, leading, you're irreplaceable. Let me show you the difference. Replaceable lawyer drafts standard contracts, conducts legal research, reviews documents, follows precedent. Irreplaceable lawyer designs novel legal strategies, negotiates complex, emotionally charged disputes, builds relationships with clients and stakeholders, thinks critically about ethical dilemmas, creates new frameworks where none exist. See the difference? One is mechanical, the other is human, and the lawyers who survive won't be the ones who do the most work. They'll be the ones who do the most meaningful work. But here's the part that keeps me up at night. Not everyone will make it. Some people will adapt, will evolve, will reinvent themselves. But others, they'll be left behind. And it won't be their fault, because the truth is the system wasn't built to help them transition. Law schools are still teaching students to think like lawyers, i.e., to think in patterns and precedents. Firms are still billing by the hour, incentivizing inefficiency over innovation. Bar associations are still gatekeeping entry to the profession, making it harder, not easier, to adapt. The entire legal industry is built on a foundation that assumes human labor is irreplaceable. But that assumption, it's collapsing. And the institutions that should be leading the transformation, they're the ones clinging to the past. Here's a statistic that should terrify you. According to McKinsey Global Institute, 2024, 44% of legal tasks are highly automatable. By 2030, up to 1.2 million legal jobs could be displaced globally. Only 30% of current law students are being trained in AI literacy. Read that again. 1.2 million jobs gone. And only 30% of future lawyers are being prepared for the world they're entering. That's not a skills gap, that's a catastrophe. Let me tell you about James Keller, 26 years old, just graduated from law school, $220,000 in debt, passed the bar in 2024, started applying for jobs, 150 applications, 12 interviews, 0 offers. Why? Because every firm he applied to said the same thing. We're not hiring junior associates right now. We're using AI for that work. James is qualified, smart, motivated, but he's also obsolete, not because he's bad, but because he's unnecessary. And here's what's truly tragic. James did everything right. He got good grades, he networked, he interned, he passed the bar. He followed the blueprint, but the blueprint was written for a world that no longer exists. And now, he's $220,000 in debt with no way to pay it back. No job, no prospects, no path forward. That's not his failure. That's the system's failure. So let's talk about the cost of inaction. Because it's not abstract, it's not theoretical, it's human. It's David, forced into retirement after 32 years. It's Linda, closing her practice and working for $40 an hour. It's James, drowning in debt with no career to show for it. And it's thousands more just like them. People who believed in the system, who played by the rules, who worked hard, and who are now being discarded. Not because they failed, but because the world moved on. Here's what I want you to understand. The future doesn't wait for you to be ready. It arrives whether you like it or not. And the people who survive aren't the ones who resist. They're the ones who see it coming and prepare. So let me ask you something. Are you preparing? Or are you pretending this won't happen to you? Because I promise you, it will. Maybe not today, maybe not next month, but eventually the ground will shift beneath you, and when it does, you'll have two choices: adapt or disappear. Here's the good news. It's not too late, but the window is closing, fast. Because the lawyers who adapt now, who learn AI, who build new skills, who embrace the transformation, will be the ones who lead the next era. But the ones who wait, who cling to the old ways, who convince themselves that it won't happen to me, they'll be the cautionary tales, the footnotes, the names people forget. I'm not telling you this to scare you. I'm telling you this to wake you up. Because this moment, right now, as you read this, is your chance. Your chance to choose, your chance to act, your chance to decide. Am I going to be a victim of this change, or a master of it? The reckoning is here. The question is, are you ready for it? All right, we've reached the end. But this isn't the kind of ending where I tie everything up in a neat little bow and send you off feeling warm and inspired. Because the truth is, this story isn't over. It's just beginning. And the next chapter? That's yours to write. Let's recap what we know. The machines are here. They're not coming. They're not on the horizon. They're not a distant threat. They're here, reading, writing, researching, analyzing, doing the work that used to define your profession. The old world is collapsing. The billable hour model, the pyramid structure, the assumption that human labor equals value. All of it crumbling. The new world is emerging. Legal engineers, AI ethicists, micro-entrepreneurs, policy architects, jobs that didn't exist 5 years ago are becoming the foundation of the next economy. And the people? Some are adapting, evolving, thriving. Others are resisting, denying, drowning. So here's the question I want you to sit with. Which one are you going to be? Because make no mistake, you are going to choose. Even if you do nothing, that's a choice. Even if you wait, that's a choice. Even if you tell yourself, I'll deal with this later, that's a choice. And choices have consequences. Let me tell you about two lawyers. Both graduated from the same law school in 2015. Both started at the same firm. Both had identical credentials, identical training, identical potential. 10 years later, Lawyer A is running a boutique firm that specializes in AI-assisted legal consulting. Revenue, $5 million annually. Staff, 8 people. Clients, Fortune 500 companies, startups, nonprofits. Lawyer B is unemployed, burned through savings, struggling to find contract work, considering leaving the profession entirely. What's the difference between them? Not talent, not intelligence, not even luck. The difference is one decision. When AI arrived, Lawyer A leaned in. Lawyer B resisted. That's it. One choice. 10 years ago. And now, 2 completely different lives. Here's what I need you to understand. The next 10 years will be defined by the decisions you make in the next 10 months. Maybe even the next 10 weeks. Because the world is moving fast, faster than it ever has before. And the people who wait for clarity, who wait for certainty, who wait for the perfect moment to act, they'll be left behind. Not because they're weak, but because they're slow. So let me give you a framework, a way to think about this transformation, a way to stop being paralyzed by fear and start taking action. I call it the 3 pillars of survival. Pillar 1. Learn. You don't need to become a data scientist. You don't need to learn Python or build neural networks. But you do need to understand how AI works, what it can do, what it can't do, where it's useful, where it's dangerous. Start here. Spend 30 minutes a week learning about AI tools in your field test ChatGPT, Claude, or legal-specific tools like Casetext, Harvey, or Everlaw. Read 1 article a week on AI ethics, bias, or regulation. Follow AI researchers, tech journalists, and legal futurists on social media. That's it. 30 minutes a week. Less time than you spend scrolling Instagram. But this will future-proof your career. Pillar 2. Adapt. Learning isn't enough. You have to apply what you learn. You have to change how you work. Here's how. Use AI to automate repetitive tasks, research, drafting, document review. Free up time for high-value work, strategy, negotiation, client relationships. Experiment with new business models, flat fees, subscription services, AI-enhanced consulting. Build skills that machines can't replicate: empathy, creativity, ethical reasoning. The goal isn't to compete with AI, the goal is to collaborate with it. To use it as a tool that amplifies your humanity, not replaces it. Pillar 3. Create. This is the most important pillar, because learning and adapting will keep you employed. But creating, that will make you indispensable. Here's what I mean. Invent new legal services that didn't exist before. Build communities around legal education and access. Develop frameworks for AI governance and ethics. Solve problems that no one else is solving. Stop thinking like an executor. Start thinking like an innovator. Because the lawyers who will dominate the next era aren't the ones who do what everyone else does. They're the ones who do what no one else imagined. Let me give you an example. Rachel Kim, 33 years old, immigration lawyer. In 2023, she noticed something. Immigrants were being denied visas because of errors in their AI-processed applications, errors they didn't even know existed. So Rachel created a service, AI Visa Audit, a platform that reviews AI-generated immigration documents, identifies errors, and helps applicants fix them before submission. She charges $200 per audit. In the first year, she helped 5,000 people. Revenue, $1 million. And here's the kicker. She didn't replace the AI. She didn't fight it. She partnered with it. She saw a problem no one else saw, and she built a solution. That's not lawyering. That's creating. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but I'm not creative. I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm just a lawyer. And that's the problem. Because as long as you think of yourself as just a lawyer, you'll be replaceable. But the moment you think of yourself as a problem solver, a strategist, a builder, a human, you become irreplaceable. Here's a question I want you to ask yourself. What problem can I solve that no one else is solving? Not what legal service can I offer? Not what practice area should I specialize in? But what problem exists in the world that I, with my unique combination of skills, experiences, and perspective, am positioned to solve? That's your edge. That's your future. That's your survival. Let me be blunt. The profession you trained for no longer exists. It died somewhere between 2020 and 2025, and you can mourn it. You can rage against it. You can deny it, or you can accept it and build something better. Because here's the secret no one tells you. The collapse of the old world is the birth of the new one, and the people who thrive in the new world aren't the ones who had the most success in the old one. They're the ones who are willing to let go, willing to unlearn, willing to rebuild, willing to risk. Let me tell you about Henry Ford. The automobile is still a luxury item, expensive, slow to produce, only for the rich. Ford looks at the system and thinks, what if we could make cars faster, cheaper, and accessible to everyone? So he invents the assembly line. And in doing so, he doesn't just build cars, he transforms an industry. He makes millions of people wealthier, more mobile, more free. Not because he had the best engineering degree, but because he saw a problem no one else saw, and he built a solution no one else imagined. That's what I'm asking you to do, not to be Henry Ford, but to think like him, to stop asking, how do I protect what I have? And start asking, what can I build that doesn't exist yet? Here's the thing about transformation. It's not a one-time event. It's a mindset, a commitment to lifelong learning, to curiosity, to discomfort. Because the moment you stop evolving, you start dying. Not physically, but professionally, intellectually, creatively. You become a relic, a footnote, a cautionary tale. So let me ask you one more time. Which one are you going to be? The lawyer who adapts, or the lawyer who disappears? The one who builds the future, or the one who clings to the past? The one who takes risks, or the one who plays it safe? Because here's what I know. Playing it safe is the riskiest thing you can do. The world is changing too fast. The stakes are too high. The opportunities are too great. And the window is closing. I'm not going to lie to you. This won't be easy. Learning new skills? Hard. Changing your business model? Scary. Letting go of old identities? Painful. But you know what's harder? Waking up in 5 years and realizing you missed your chance. Realizing that you had the opportunity to adapt, to evolve, to lead. And you didn't take it. Realizing that you let fear win. So here's my challenge to you. Do one thing this week. Just one. Sign up for an AI tool and test it on a real case. Read an article about the future of law. Reach out to someone who's successfully navigated this transition. Brainstorm one new service you could offer. Audit your current skills and identify gaps. One action. That's all it takes to start. Because transformation doesn't happen all at once. It happens in tiny, courageous steps. And here's the beautiful thing. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to know exactly where this is going. You just have to be willing to move, to experiment, to fail, to learn, to trust that you're capable of more than you think. Let me leave you with this. There's a quote by William Gibson, the science fiction writer, that I think about a lot. The future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. Think about that. The future isn't coming. It's here, right now. Some people are already living in it, building in it, thriving in it, and others, they're still stuck in the past. The question is, which world are you living in? Because the choice is yours. It always has been. AI didn't take that away from you. It just made it urgent. So here's what I want you to remember. You are not a victim of this transformation. You are a participant in it. And the role you play, victim or victor, passenger or pilot, obsolete or irreplaceable, is entirely up to you. The machines are here. The world is changing. The old rules are gone. But you're still here. And that means you still have a choice. So make it. Now. Before the window closes. Before the moment passes. Before it's too late. Because the future doesn't wait. But it does reward those who act.